when in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation.
They
Hey
started
guys, this is
to
Tommy,
label
Tommy
us, the
Nation
podcast
Politics.
bros,
How's everyone doing
and
today?
said that we were sexist and we were racist and bigoted. It's almost like it's the exact same strategy to get you out of there.
And then you get to what we call identity politics.
Yeah.
That you're black, you're wonderful, you're tremendous, you're gay, you're the greatest human being on earth.
Yeah, yeah.
And rather than say, what do you stand for?
We felt that over the last 4 elections, Democrats, we felt that we didn't have a say on who could be president.
There hasn't been a fair primary for the Democrats since 2008. Are they not also a threat to democracy? Yes. We often hear...
Fair enough. This is a good discussion.
Why are you shocked?
I am shocked because I do a lot of media stuff. Right. You're asking questions that are not often asked.
Hey guys, this is Tommy with Tommy Nation Politics. How's everyone doing today? Tommy Nation Politics.
This is not just a plan to hand over $700 billion of your money to a few banks. If this is managed correctly, we will hopefully get most or all of our money back. We might even turn a profit on the government's investment, every penny of which will go directly back to you, the investor. The rescue plan now includes these 4 principles. It also includes a proposal I made yesterday morning to expand federal deposit insurance for families and small businesses across America.
Hi guys, this is Tommy with Tommy Nation Politics. How's everyone doing today? Good? Guys, this is George Washington. He was the first original president of the United States of America. And he's told to be one of the most wise, one of the most courageous, and one of the most insightful gentlemen that ever was in the fellowship of founding fathers. Had he been here today, he probably, just like you, think he was a little bit like, well, feeling a little bit like, anyway, Alice. Tumbling down the rabbit hole. I can see it in your eyes. You have that look. The look of a man or woman who accepts what he sees because he is expecting to wake up. Ironically, that is not far from the truth. Do you believe in fate? Are you someone who doesn't bend to the will of the conventional wisdom? Someone who rebels, who questions authority, who doesn't just live in the bandwagon mentality, mainstream, but someone who fights for what they believe in, has principles, values, believes in something? Do you believe in fate? I don't. Why not? Well, I'm here for a purpose, that's for sure. I can't explain that purpose, guys. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it for your entire life, that there's something wrong in the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there. Like a splinter in your mind. Driving you mad. It's a feeling that has brought you to me. Do you know what I'm talking about? Not talking about the Matrix, guys. I'm talking about an illusion. a great illusion of choice, a usurpation of power, a tyranny that we have not seen unlike since King George III. That's what it is, guys. It's not the Matrix, but it is an illusion, nonetheless. It's everywhere. It is all around us, even now, in this very room. You can see it when you look out your window, or when you turn on your television. You can feel it when you go to work, when you go to church, when you pay your taxes. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth. What truth is that? That you are a slave. Yes, it's true. In the land of the free and the home of the brave, there is a elites, there is a noble, there is a king, and there is a slave. You are a slave, like everyone else. You were born into bondage, born into a prison that you cannot smell, taste, or touch. It's a prison for your mind. Unfortunately, no one can be told what this illusion is. And no one can be told that they're absolutely propagandized to, totally lied to, and completely and unequivocally fooled, befuddled, bewildered, and you're made a fool. But guys, you take the blue pill, you take the red pill, you go to your sides, and maybe enjoy this illusion, but you take the domination politics pill. There's no turning back. You take the blue pill or the red pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed, believe whatever you want to believe. You take the domination politics pill. You stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth. Nothing more. Nothing less. The truth.
Could we not also say, if ostensibly there hasn't been a fair primary for the Democrats since 2008, are they not also a threat to democracy? Yes. We often hear...
Fair enough.
Bernie Sanders would never come on our show, and it was because he likes to go on corporate news because they always attack him from the right. He didn't want somebody criticizing him or critiquing him from the left. If you remember, he wouldn't even let Kyle Kalinske come on his own show when Kyle was going to critique. Back when Kyle wasn't Malibu.
I forgot.
Remember that? Yeah.
Yes.
So, and Kyle said, "Sure, you can kick me off my own show," because that's the kind of spine Kyle has, which means he doesn't have anybody. So he'll go on someone like Theo Vaughn's show, which I love Theo Vaughn, and he'll go on someone like Andrew Schultz's show, knowing that they're not going to actually. They're not into politics the way we are here, and they're not going to actually cut him off at the legs. But they actually do.
Schultz did, didn't he?
Schultz actually does do a really good job. Bernie did not see this coming, I think, and Schultz actually watch
work, Schultzy.
And watch what they get Bernie. So good on Schultz, and watch what they get Bernie to admit. Watch this.
The problem I think a lot of voters had is like they didn't even know if it was her. We didn't even know if Biden was president. We didn't even know if these were her talking points, and we felt that over the last 4 elections.
The spokesperson added,
Democrats,
we will continue to conduct 100% ID proofing for all in-person claims.
Be president.
4.5 million telephone claims a year,
Republicans being autocrats and oligarchs and taking over democracy.
Advocates argued that
from
the shift creates
Democrat perspective,
especially
and I'm a
for
lifelong
seniors in
Democrat,
rural areas.
I felt like the Democratic Party completely removed the democratic process from its constituents. And I think they need to have some accountability of that.
No argument here.
I donated for you. I mean, I wanted you to, like, 2016, I was like, this is going to happen. This guy's going to do it. And it felt like they stole it from me. And I'll be honest, it broke my heart when you supported them.
Look, but you have, in the world that I live in, you got a choice. And I mean, a lot of people, including my wife, agree with you. But, you know, you're down to a choice. Is it going to be Hillary Clinton or is it going to be Donald Trump? Not a great choice, but
Yeah, so I chose the people who actually cheated me personally and cheated out my movement. So instead of taking my movement and extracting some concessions from those people, I completely rolled over. And I didn't ask for anything. And in fact, I then herded those people back into the Democratic Party, who did all basically the essentially same things that the Donald Trump administration did. And I told them to vote for it. And then 4 years later, I did the same thing. So what he's saying is I had a choice to make. The choice he made was for his own political ass.
To his girlfriend, and she recorded it without him knowing it. They said this in court that, look, we don't have to be impartial. We don't even know what impartial means, and you can't tell us what impartial means because we don't understand the dictionary. And though we have cases all the time where someone says, hey, you treated me unfairly at work. You discriminated on me. And courts find a way to determine if you were discriminating. Like, it's not impossible to look at the data, right? And to say smoke-filled rooms. And see, Jared, and I'm sure you've heard this when you make these appearances and people comment. It's like they take people's money. You know what I'm saying? They're taking people's money, and then they say, well, you don't really have a say. We overrule your say if we choose to, and you can't complain about it. Am I like jumping to conclusions, or is it that the same way?
I think we need to say farewell, guys. Farewell. You know, to the extent plaintiffs wish to air their general grievances with the DNC or its candidate selection process, their redress is through the ballot box, the DNC's internal workings, or their right of free speech, not through judiciary. This was a quote that was taken from the Democratic National Committee's
President Trump
lawsuit.
has launched a trade war, disrupting global economic stability and impacting consumers.
Primary. See, rather than reflecting on the consternation everyday workers are having over the conduct
concerns among
of the
investors
Democratic
and businesses alike.
primary
Elon Musk and others expressed shock
or the
as
Democratic
the
Party's
ramifications
primary
of this trade
challenges
conflict unfold globally.
super delicate count, the ways and means, the rules and the guidelines. The ways and means and the rules and guidelines, guys, are of a private corporation with no obligation to follow any rules but theirs. Hi guys, this is Tommy with Tommy Nation Politics. www.tommynationpolitics.com. Reach out to us on Facebook, facebook.com/TommyNationPolitics, YouTube, Trovo, Twitch, TikTok, and Discord. We're free-thinking, innovative, totally open-minded, new progressive media, and we want to tell you guys about the news today. Well, my friends, let's buckle up. And welcome back.
Find themselves in a challenging position,
where we rip the band
of this
off
tumultuous
the
trade war.
truth, boo-boo. Tonight I've got a bone to pick with the
news
same
by
Democrats who
subscribing to our channel.
started stoking fear about MAGA extremists. The MAGA extremist guys, they were transmitting and traveling in misinformation. MAGA talking points. The big lie. Well, these Democrats that were busy stoking fear about the big lie, crying out about misinformation and the demonization of MAGA talking points, while conveniently sweeping critical questions under the rug, like watching a bad show. It's like politics, but bad, with the Democratic Party. Always, guys. At least with the Republicans, you can always count on the same old. Cutting entitlements, money for the rich. Misinformation and the demonization of MAGA talking points has been the trendy buzzword, word salad that the Democratic liberals have gone straight to in a classic woke fashion. Now, the Democrats are running scared, of course. Why are they running scared? Well, Trump's approval rating seems to be skyrocketing. I don't know, guys. With all of the court rulings that have caught him rather behind on his agenda, and the manufactured narratives of the Homeland Security Secretary, I got to tell you guys that with the habeas corpus and freedoms and liberties of the American people hanging in the balance, the same Democratic Party that is supposed to, I don't know, help us restore the soul of the country, as Joe Biden put it, well, they conveniently sweep critical questions under the rug about everything pertaining to them and the health care and the wages of the working class. I don't know, guys. They're never going to be a thing. What is a thing, guys? Let's get one thing straight. Instead of engaging in a genuine dialogue about what matters to the American people, the Democrats have always trafficked in this wokeism, conspiring to discredit. You know, the warning about the fake news, misinformation, MAGA talking points, as if that somehow validates their selective storytelling narratives. The parades, the alarm bells, the goddamn hours of fucking virtual signaling, morality lectures. Not because they care about you, or the collective, or the truth, but because they desperately need to divert your attention away from, if you ask me, the ultimate political diversion. Throwing a fit about contradictory messages while quietly burying any question about the accountability when it comes to the Democratic Party, or specifically when it comes to Joe Biden, that president, and his health, or rather anything that remotely resembles having to do with Joe Biden, his son's laptop, the holdings of Burisma about the big guy that gets 10%. Everything about Joe Biden. It seems to be a cover-up. It seems to be a wokist cover-up. Wokist, not as an African-American term, but as the term that you took our term and fucking perverted it, meaning term. Woke. That's what that shit is. And now, guys, to top it all off, like a cherry on the motherfucking top of the Democratic Party cover-up, listen to this.
Just days after former President Biden announced he has an aggressive form of prostate cancer, a new book out today blasts Biden aides and people in the White House at that time for allegedly hiding his declining health from the public while he was in office. Original Sin by journalists Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson delves into firsthand accounts, many anonymous, from Biden's time in office. Earlier on CBS Mornings, Tapper directly addressed who he believes is to blame for what he describes as a cover-up.
I think the main people complicit in hiding the non-functioning Biden were President Biden, First Lady Biden, Hunter Biden, and then his immediate circle of aides that other people in the White House called the Politburo, Mike Donnellan, Steve Ricchetti, and some others. They were the ones who saw President Biden every day, up close and personal, and whether they were lying to themselves and everybody else or just everybody else.
A Biden spokesperson released a statement today saying, quote, "There is nothing in this book that shows Joe Biden failed to do his job, as the authors have alleged, nor did they prove their allegations."
They didn't prove it. Not only does this not prove what we all admit that we did, which was a cover-up, but also it does not prove that we are actually caring about the American people, because we're a fucking corporation. We can change our rules whenever we want. If a fucking Democratic Socialist gets in the race, fucking superdelegates, fuck it. Your money that you donated to that candidate, fuck it. Goes to Hillary, fuck it. Yeah, guys, it seems very democratic, this Democratic Party. I'm pretty democratic. I'm free-thinking, innovative, open-minded. If y'all want to contribute to Tommy Nation Politics, you can go to PayPal, Tommy Nation Politics, or Cash App. One word, Tommy Nation Politics, Cash App. We won't cut your cancer research. We won't cut your Social Security or your Medicare. We will give you new, independent, progressive media commentary. And we will tell you the truth, no matter how many political partisans tell us to stop talking about the past. Stop fucking using your memory to fucking hash out the history. Stop trying to fucking use your brain to fucking question authority and maybe come up with a solution for rabid tyranny in our country. Just be a fucking... Come on, man. Just be a fucking idiot guy. Just vote for these parties. Okay? Just fucking give up on your principles and values. Okay? Be an empty shell. Be a fucking total, transparent, in-your-face hypocrite. Be a complete and utter psychotic zombie moron puppet of the rich. So the Democrats and Republicans are puppets of the rich. If you are a puppet of the Democrats and Republicans, you are a puppet of the rich. You are a puppet of the rich. You're like Pinocchio's fucking Pinocchios. You're like if Pinocchio fucking had a puppet. That'd be you. But guys, this is free thinking, innovative, open-minded domination politics. Go to our website, www.dominationpolitics.com, and please see our link tree, subscribe anywhere on social media platforms that accommodate you. I don't want to have to accommodate you with the news or my opinion because I have a First Amendment right, protected right to say whatever I want to say, as is my right as an American. But also, not my directive, guys. My directive is not to fucking just tell you the truth, tell you whatever you want to hear. It's just so you can like my videos, and share my videos, and you can subscribe to my videos because I'm safe. And I'm always going to tell you what you want to hear. No, guys, I'm here to tell you maybe sometimes what you don't want to hear, something you're going to have to assess, something that you're going to have to dissect, something that you're going to have to break down yourself. And you can only do that by being free-thinking, innovative, and open-minded. Meanwhile, guys, as tragic as the Democratic Party is, the fun just keeps on rolling with new books and new covers of new ways to make the Democrats more or less exposed.
Use the word cover up in the title. That's gotten a lot of attention. It's a strong phrase to use. Tell me why you justified using that framing when it came to President Biden's inner circle and the way that they protected him.
If it wasn't a cover-up, then why were so many people surprised by the debate? The one top aide who left the White House said that they intentionally shielded him from other members of the administration, other members of the cabinet, other senior White House officials. The inner circle became smaller and smaller, and this White House official said that was intentional, so that they did not realize the extent of the decline.
We're all human. We all forget names. We all lose our train of thought. We're not talking about that. We're talking about to the point of you are not able to have a conversation. You are not able to come up with data, information, knowledge, names that you should have at the ready. I find it impossible to believe that people who saw him on a regular basis did not see this to the degree that it was alarming. And in fact, we talked to many of them who did.
So it turns out, guys, Trump was right about one thing. You, Democratic Party, and mainstream media, you're fake news. Not only fake news, but you're misinformation. And your storytelling, your libtarded, wokest storytelling is not going to one iota keep me from talking about the truth. And you so desperately need to divert your attention and our attention from the truth. The ultimate political diversion. Throwing a fit about contradictory messages while quietly bearing any questions about accountability when it always comes to your Democratic Party. Speaking of which, you probably, caught wind about this cover-up and the growing, ever so louder emergence about the transparency of the highest offices of the land that are supposed to be governed by the people. When medical information is shrouded in secrecy, questioning it is immediately, you're branded as a MAGA talking points. Or, misinformation. The inconvenient truth, the truth they tried to hide in the dark because they are evil. And the probing into the president's health, these so-called protectors of the truth suddenly default to fear-mongering a noble concern for habeas corpus and due process and rule of law, these wonderful pretend Democratic Party sycophants reflexively attack, deflect scrutiny, change the narratives, manufacture panic on the behalf of the puppets of the rich. I'm here to remind you, the American people, that the stakes are too high for our faith to be manipulated by scare tactics. Coherent, the recycled talking points, the guilt that you deserve the truth, that you deserve accountability, that you deserve to challenge the status quo and the political elite. It's not just another misinformation MAGA talking point. It's something that fear-mongering can never overtake. The genuine inquiry of demanding better for your leaders. So to the Democrats and their cadre of crisis merchants, stop hiding behind your scripted defenses. The light of accountability is creeping in, and the American people will not be silenced by your diversionary tactics. I'm Tommy, Nation Politics, urging you to keep up questioning, keep challenging, and never settle for the sanitized versions of the reality served up by those in power. The truth is out there, and together, we'll make sure that the truth sees the light of day. Stay vigilant, stay informed, and let's keep the conversation fierce, because in a world of smoke and mirrors, only the truth can break through. Only the truth shall set you free.
Have you ever wondered where the two major political parties in the United States got their start? In this video, we'll do a simple run-through starting from the beginning to the present day. The Democratic Party is the older of the two parties and is actually the oldest active political party in the world. It was founded officially in 1828. However, both parties can trace their backgrounds to the birth of the country and the Founding Fathers. The Founding Fathers had differing political views that sparked the forming of two factions. George Washington, Alexander Hamilton, and John Adams formed what was called the Federalists. Their primary objective was to ensure a strong government and central banking system with a national bank. On the other side, Thomas Jefferson and James Madison pushed for a smaller and more decentralized government. They formed what was known as the Democratic Republicans. Both the Democratic and Republican parties as we know them today are rooted in this early faction. At the beginning of the 19th century, the Democratic Republicans dominated the political scene, causing the Federalists to slowly dissolve away. Because the Democratic Republicans were so popular, the party had several political candidates who ran against each other in the presidential election of 1824. John Quincy Adams won the presidency in spite of Andrew Jackson winning the popular vote. This began a divide within the party, which eventually caused the party to split in two: the Democrats or Democratic Party and the Whig Party. The Democrats were led by Andrew Jackson. He was against the existence of the Bank of the United States, and he largely supported states' rights and minimal government regulation. The Whig Party stood in distinct opposition to Jackson and the Democrats, and supported the national bank. In the mid-19th century, slavery was a widely discussed political issue. The Democratic Party's internal views on this matter differed greatly. Southern Democrats wished for slavery to be expanded and reach into western parts of the country. Northern Democrats, on the other hand, argued that this issue should be settled on a local level and through popular referendum. The divide in the Democratic Party eventually led to Abraham Lincoln, who belonged to the Republican Party, winning the presidential election of 1860. This new Republican Party had recently been formed by a group of Whigs, Democrats, and other politicians who had broken free from their respective parties in order to form a party based on an anti-slavery platform. The Civil War broke out in 1861, following President Lincoln's inauguration. In the Civil War, 7 southern states formed the Confederate States of America and fought for the detachment from the United States. However, the Union won the war, and the Confederacy was formally dissolved. The issue of slavery was at the center of political disagreement during the Civil War, and this caused the Republicans to fight for the abolition of slavery, and Lincoln signing the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863. At this point in history, the South was predominantly Democratic and held conservative, agrarian-oriented, anti-big business values, which were characteristic of the Democratic Party at the time. The majority of the North, on the other hand, were Republicans who fought for the civil and voting rights for African American people. After the war, the Republican Party became more and more oriented toward economic growth, industry, and big business in northern states, and in the beginning of the 20th century, it had reached a general status as a party for the more wealthy classes in society. Many Republicans therefore gained financial success in the prosperous 1920s until the stock market crashed in 1929, initiating the era of the Great Depression. Many blamed Republican President Herbert Hoover for the financial damages brought by the crisis. In 1932, the country therefore elected Democrat Franklin D. Roosevelt to be president. To get the country back on track, Roosevelt introduced his New Deal. The New Deal launched a number of progressive government-funded social programs, ensuring Social Security, improved infrastructure, and minimum wage. This meant that a large number of Southern Democrats, whose political views were more traditional and conservative, didn't support Roosevelt's liberal initiatives and joined the Republican Party instead. Roosevelt's progressive liberal policies play an important role in shifting the party's political agenda to look like the modern Democratic Party as we know it today. After Roosevelt died in 1945, the Democrats stayed in power with Harry S. Truman in the White House. He continued to take the Democratic Party in a progressive direction with a pro-civil rights platform and desegregation of military forces, thereby gaining support from a large number of African American voters who had previously supported the Republican Party because of its anti-slavery platform. The Democratic Party largely stayed in power until 1980, when Republican Ronald Reagan was elected as president. Reagan's social conservative politics and emphasis on cutting taxes, preserving family values, and increasing military funding were important steps in defining the modern Republican platform. Following Reagan's 2 terms in office, his vice president George H.W. Bush was elected as his successor in the White House. Since then, Republicans and Democrats have taken turns in the White House and controlling majorities in both the House of Representatives and the Senate.
The shared roots of the Democrats, Republicans, and the case for a change in the landscape of American politics. Democrats and Republicans, dominating public discourse, yet a deep examination reveals a shared heritage and alignment that challenges this binary suggesting two-choice system. Research suggests that Democrats and Republicans share historical roots. They were first called the Democratic Republican Party, policies aligning at a bipartisan consensus about the status quo, limiting real change with the Electoral College, and quashing any kind of threat like third parties to support a perfect system of totalitarian tyranny. Understanding these dynamic similarities and Democrat-Republican distinctions can help you realize that we might be trapped in a one-party mirage. As the clock ticks toward midnight, another contentious election cycle, the midterms coming, Americans are once again bombarded with the familiar red versus blue spectacle. The Democratic and Republican parties lock horns in a theatrical showdown, each promising to save the nation from others' ruin. But what if this grand drama is nothing more than a carefully choreographed illusion? What if, beneath the partisan rhetoric and divisive slogans, these parties are not opposites but siblings, 2 faces of the same coin, rather? Rooted in history, the Democratic Republican Party of the late 18th century has more similarities than they have differences. There is a compelling and incisive and informative report that I have to give to you today on Domination Politics about the DNA of the Democrats and Republicans. Thomas Jefferson and James Madison championed individual liberties.